Hello, all you scaredy cats and kittens, and welcome to the Two Scaredy Cats podcast, where we talk about all things strange, unusual, and paranormal. We're your hostess with the mostest. I'm Stacy.
And I'm Kara.
So, Kara, what did we do this weekend together that was kind of cool and we have never done before?
We went to the Mothman Festival, which is pretty cool.
Yes, we did. Yes, it was awesome. We had a great time.
Yeah, it was very cool.
So what are some of the things that you liked about the festival or that we did that you thought were fun?
I mean, I think it was just how many people show up for this, and some people travel very far away for this. We saw people from Washington D.C. coming out here, or I know that some people flew out. Yep. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, that's cool, but it's crazy. Well, they haven't had it.
It's just crazy.
They haven't had it in 3 years.
Yeah.
And it was we went on Saturday, and it was just insane how many. It was wall to wall people. It was so crazy how crowded it was.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad in the morning, but it's we came back because we went on the TNT bus tour at 11:30. When we came back, it was a zoo. It was crazy how much more crowded it was in that time we were gone.
Yes, definitely. Yep. Definitely.
It was just a sea of people. It was crazy.
I know. It was so weird to see.
Because when the bus took you down the main street, so you could see it, and we're just seeing it dead on, all the people, it was whoa.
Yep,
we didn't even try to cut through there. There was some back alleys you could cross through if you didn't want to shove your way through all the people, which was kind of nice. It seemed a lot of people didn't really realize that.
Yes,
because there was no one back. There was maybe a few people back there who were big brain moves, but and we got there pretty early too, so we were able to see everything before.
Yeah, we got there on Friday to kind of scope it out since we'd never been before and we had no idea what this was like, just so we kind of got a lay of the land before the actual thing on Saturday. And we thought maybe it would be crowded. We just didn't think it would be that crowded. But we're so glad we went on Friday because we got to experience some of the things, the stores that are there in the town, and you really have to go check them out.
Yeah, it was impossible to do it on Saturday, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't think we would have even gotten in the door. It was that crowded. And we got to see the museum, which I thought was awesome because I had heard so much about it. And it was really neat to go in and experience firsthand the museum and kind of relive the events that happened, that took place with the Mothman and the collapse of the bridge and all that. So that was pretty cool.
And we got Mothman cookies. Did you see how crazy the line was to get inside of there?
Yes, and it was nonstop all day. Remember, even when we got there early in the morning, it was
way down the road.
And the line to see the Mothman, to get your picture with the statue, was insane. Luckily, we got a tip from one of the lovely ladies in one of the shops in town, and she told us where to park. Thank goodness. To beat the crowds. And she told us, if you're going to get your picture taken, you should come early and go ahead and get your picture taken in. And we're so thankful we did, because within an hour of arriving and getting our photos done, there was a line that was huge to get a picture with the Mothman. And by the time we left at 1:30 in the afternoon, the line was wrapped all the way around the streets and all over vendors and that. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yep.
And just hearing people talk about it was kind of funny too. You could hear the locals talking about it.
Yeah.
She on the bus tour we went on. The tour guides.
Yes, Darla was our tour guide's name, and she reminds me of your best friend. She is so funny. She was giving us all these inside stories that we had never ever heard before, because she was actually alive.
She grew up in the area around the time.
During the time when this was all going on. She was a little kid, and she remembered a lot of this, and she had friends in that where some of these strange occurrences that happened actually experienced them, and she got to see it firsthand. So that was kind of neat to have somebody that had firsthand knowledge of all that kind of tell us and go through the story with us.
But it's just interesting to hear from a perspective from someone who was there, and then they could tell us like what it actually felt like to be there instead of just
reading
facts
about
of what
right.
happened. Well, yeah, that's just like the facts. This happened. This happened. This happened. But
right.
this is like this is what it felt like to be in that, because she went into like how scary, like kind of scary. Everyone was like hush hush. Yes. People didn't go out at night.
Yeah,
because they definitely thought there was something going on.
Right. And people would not talk about it. Apparently, like the moms would all call each other on the phones and they would not like talk about it in front of their children. It was like you weren't allowed to talk about it in front of the kids kind of thing. And people, like at one point she said that before this all happened, they were allowed to be outside, you know, running around all night, you know, until the sun went down and the streetlights came on, which was the way it was when I was little. But she said during that time, she said, you did not go outside and your parents were always looking out the windows to see what was going on, because so many strange things were happening with people's dogs dying and disappearing and all kinds of crazy stuff happening while the Mothman was running around during that time and the collapse of the bridge.
There was more than just Mothman too. They were talking about how there was UFO sightings at the time.
Yep.
Bigfoot.
It wasn't just going on. Yeah. There's several different things going on.
There was a lot of different things going on, not just Mothman at the time too.
Yeah.
It just kind of was like the main catalyst.
Yes. Yep. So that was really cool. I want to go back again. It was fun.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I enjoyed the bus ride just like to have the inside perspective.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And it was worth it. And it was cool to go in the places too. And they would tell stories about the thing too.
Yeah.
Like how they would blow up.
Yeah.
How she talked about how it blew up and it blew the freaking roof off.
Yeah, that's insane.
Or that they were like, they would actually like doing like, there was like some crazy materials being held in there.
Yeah, and they won't tell them like what they are. It's very
they won't even tell them what exactly. Yeah,
and it still is hush hush to today,
and they still are being used today.
Yeah, and some people think it might be like the new Area 51 type thing. That's what I've heard. You know, people say. So who knows?
Weird stuff's going on still.
Yeah, still going on in Point Pleasant, and they say that when they have the Mothman Festival, like they have more phenomenon happens every year when the Mothman Festival happens. Like strange things will happen. People will see UFOs, all kinds of strange and weird anomalies take place. So that was kind of interesting to hear that. Her tell us that. But yeah, so that was kind of what our trip to Point Pleasant was like this past weekend.
Yeah, it's pretty chill.
Yep. So, Kara, go ahead.
Is it my turn?
Yep, it's your turn to go first this time. So what have you got for us this week?
So, while we were on our trip, we did go to, like, a library, and we got, or not a library, we went to a bookstore. We both decided to buy books to hope, get some info.
Okay, hold on. Wait, before you start your whole story. You know what we forgot to talk about was the strange experience that we had in that one, not craft. Well, it was kind of like a craft store, but remember it was an antique mall there on the town square there. Remember that? Where there was
weird
like
floor?
Yeah, like there was like this whole bottom floor that was like all these, antiques and all that.
It was normal.
Right, and normal. And they had this upstairs that was, and they're like, upstairs. And there was a sign pointing and you could go up. So we're like, hey, let's go upstairs. And we went upstairs and it was crazy because you started walking up the steps and it gradually got darker and like the atmosphere totally changed the further up the steps.
It felt really weird up there.
Yeah, to the second level. It was so weird. And we get up there and I don't know about you, but I just felt like really anxious. I felt like I was going to vomit. I felt dizzy. It just did not feel good up there at all. And it was creepy as I'll get out up there. It was like the antiques that they didn't, that were on clearance or special were thrown up there and stuff. And we kept making jokes that, this is probably haunted.
It's the haunted section.
Yeah, the haunted section of their
weird.
store. Yeah, there was some really weird stuff up there. And like I said, the vibes up in that area. And there was another person with us, our friend Harley, who also was getting the same vibes that we were. I mean, we just did not like it up there at all. Yeah. It felt really bizarre. So if you happen to go to Point Pleasant and you want to take a peruse through the antique mall there, make sure you go up to the second floor and check it out and let us know if you have the same experience that we had. where I felt like something or someone was watching us when we were up there. It just felt really eerie and off.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I know you were getting started on your thing, but we forgot to talk about that, and I wanted to mention that just in case anybody else has the opportunity to experience that. You should go check it out.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead, Kara. So we went to a bookstore and you got a book.
Well, we both got books about like cryptids or weird stuff, weird encounters. The book that I got was called I Know What I Saw by Lynda Godfrey, who I've heard her name before. I'm pretty sure she does like other research on paranormal stuff. But anyways, I got a book and I was going to cover like one of the stories in the book because I thought it was pretty interesting.
Okay.
So this it's about a dog woman. I've never heard of a dog woman before, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And
that is different.
It takes place around the Grandview Sanatorium, which is in Wernersville, Pennsylvania. So basically in October of 1972, there were rumors of a feral and ferocious woman, a dog woman, were reported lurking around the Grandview Sanatorium area. The place had been out of commission since 1927, but the building had been burnt down in 1967 because it was condemned. Like it was essentially abandoned around 1927, and like kids could go and do stupid shit there.
Oh yeah,
basically
bad stuff. Yeah,
grief.
Yep, the local
basically
hangout,
drink and do whatever the heck else kids do nowadays. But after it was burned down, there was a few things that were remaining. There was a chapel, and there was some of the roadside walls, and then a stone building with a meat hook inside of this meat locker.
Oh, that's creepy.
Which was, everyone's like, oh, it's so spooky because there's a meat locker. But so Grandview was a health retreat, dating back to 1847. Back then, that's when tuberculosis, right?
Tuberculosis, yep.
Yeah, and they thought that a cure was going up into the mountains and breathing fresh air.
Getting fresh air, yeah.
And this area, this area was up like on a mountain, so it was the prime location. Yeah. It was originally founded by Dr. Charles Frederick Leisenring under the name Berks County Cold Springs, and he ended up dying on the property in 1859 after 12 years of owning it. It was purchased again in 1873 by Aaron Smith, who he named it Hygiene Home, which is a weird name. And then he ran it for 6 years until it went bankrupt.
Okay.
So this place just keeps passing hands. So Dr. James Pepper and Dr. Reuben Wenrick bought the property next. A year after moving in, 2 of Dr. Reuben's children died in the sanatorium in March in 1880.
Do they know what they had or why they died?
They just died of like sickness because they were in a. I mean, honestly, it's probably not good for like children to be around.
No, they probably got tuberculosis
because they lived. Yeah, locusts, not locusts. But yeah, they lived inside of the place. They lived inside because they were. Where they're his kids.
Were. Okay.
Because he owned it, and him and his family moved in. And then basically 2 years later, another one of his kids dies. He had 7 in total. So now he's lost 3 of his kids this place. Wow. And then his wife ended up passing away in 1896.
Do we know what the deaths were for all these kids and wives?
They just were like, I guess I'm dying.
Okay.
It's pretty like vague about.
Vague, I got you.
There's just like articles where like, oh, these children die.
Yeah.
Of like being sick or whatever. There's a lot of superstition, like, oh, this place is cursed. And then he himself, Dr. Reuben, dies in 1926. And then after his death, his 2 remaining sons, I mean, I think there was 2 other children that survived. But they decided to abandon the property. They were like, we're done with this place. Yep. And that's why in 1927 it was left abandoned.
Huh.
It was left unlocked and unattended, so teenagers in the area would go. It was a new hangout place because it was a pretty big building too, and there was no one there, so they're like, woohoo. They would tell stories of seeing a noose hanging from the roof.
Okay, that's concerning. Scary.
Yeah. There were also claims of children screaming from the meat locker.
Okay, that's really scary.
Yeah, and there was like a lot of stuff going around, so they're like, let's just burn this place down because it was condemned, and they didn't want anyone to get injured from. So these like high schoolers, were going and messing around there.
Right.
So 1967 was when it was burned down. It was like a controlled burn down, they did it on purpose. The chapel did remain because it was separate, and it became a private residence.
So does somebody still live there today?
Probably. If I had to take a guess. So in June of 1995, a car full of teenagers drove up and down the road by the ruins in the chapel, because even though it was burned down, the kids still go there,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all nosy.
Oh, yeah.
So they're just driving up and down, and the person who was currently owned the chapel and living there was kind of fed up at this point from all the attention his property was getting. So he went outside with a gun, and he shot in the back of the car, and he killed one of the boys inside of it.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Isn't that
that's not
disturbing?
Good. Yeah, wow.
He was hit in the back of the head, and he died.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, whoa. I understand, him being frustrated, but I don't know if we should kill children.
I don't know that we should be killing
He's like a 17, because it's a minor, too.
Yeah. Huh.
But anyways, we're going to go back to the dog man stuff. I just thought that was kind of crazy that this place is so, it's kind of affecting the people who live nearby,
Uh-huh.
So in 1972, 3 brave high school seniors, this was around October, and they decided that they were going to go hunt and find the dog woman that there were reports of going around at this time. So the reports were that the dog woman was in, remember the meat chamber?
Yeah,
the meat hook.
Uh-huh.
With the
meat hook, yeah.
The meat locker with the meat hook.
Yep.
It's very creepy. There was photos of it in the book, actually, and I was like, huh. So basically, they went there to go look. So they approached the spot with the meat hook, and they heard a mixture of a deep roar and a fierce growl come out. And they spotted on top of the roof a large fur-covered creature standing on its hind legs, screaming at them from on top of the stone area. And then the creature hops down before they can do anything, and it just continues to scream at them. And then they scream for the driver to freaking put because they're sitting in the car. It hadn't gotten out yet. They were just they pulled up really slow to it, and they were just looking inside of it when they saw all this, and then they start gunning it down. And the creature actually keeps up with the car. It's pretty much on the bumper the entire time. Followed them for about 100 yards before it stopped, and it went back, and they were all freaked out. They're sitting in the car, and then they're like, well, let's go get a better look at it, because that's clearly the right response.
Right, yeah.
Instead of,
let's go,
they literally survived, and so they're like, oh, let's turn around.
Right, and go check it out again.
From what I read, the other 2 did not want to go, but the driver was, of course, the freaking one that wanted to turn around. And they're kind of stuck, they're like, what can we do?
You could only do what he does, yeah.
So they drive back around. They pull back up to where the thing was spotted inside, the little cave of the meat hook thing. And they could hear growling inside, and they could see glowing eyes. And that seemed to be enough for him that they were like, okay, we need to go. So they sped off once again. And that was the story. Okay. But there is apparently still a lot of lore around that place, the sanatorium up there.
Oh, yeah.
People, just a lot of strange stuff going on up in that area, even after. And there was someone's car got torn up by this creature, apparently. Clawed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? I've never heard of a dog woman, so I thought it was interesting. I know we've heard of dog men, but it's weird that they refer to it as woman specifically,
Yeah. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. How do they know it was female? What about it gave it
could have been male.
Female attributes? Right. But apparently something. Exactly. Because specifically they were referring to it as dog woman, not dog man. So I don't know.
Is there any other backstory on this dog thing to know whether it was male or female, or is that it? Just a couple
stories, and there were some other accounts from other people who had experienced it in the local area. It was kind of one of those things where it was hush hush, no one was supposed to talk about it. The person that told the story to the person who wrote the book, they said they've only told the story to 4 people because they're kind of scared, just because especially for that time that this takes place, is it 1967 where. We were talking about this around the time point of Mothman, people don't want to talk about that stuff because they're afraid. I feel like nowadays people are coming forward more because it's a little bit less.
Yep.
Yeah.
More mainstream.
A hush hush, you're going to get excommunicated from everything.
Right, yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
Right. I think it's more widely accepted today than it was back then. I think that's part of the problem.
All right. That was interesting. And it's in Pennsylvania, and that's where we're going.
I know.
This next weekend.
I know. Maybe we should go check it out. Maybe it'll be close to where we're at.
It's not really. It's on the other side of Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. Okay.
All right.
So, this week I'm doing mine on the Mud Mermaids of Indiana. When we think of mermaids, you usually think of ships at sea, pirates, and ocean. But in the 1800s, there were a sighting of mermaids in the Ohio River, of all places.
Really? The Ohio River?
Yes. Yeah, I know. So keep in mind, the Ohio River basically sits in the middle of the, it's in the Midwest, it's like in the middle of the United States. And it's pretty much landlocked. There really is, I mean, sure, the Ohio River runs through it, but it's not like an ocean or anything like that. So in the 1800s, there were these sightings in Vevey, Indiana, which, like I said, is a landlocked state, and it's in the middle of the United States. So in 1891, there were several sightings of a grotesque, twisted creature that they found. And it came to be known as this, like, a weird version of the mermaid legend. So the story goes that two of these strange creatures were spotted frolicking in the water and lounging on a submerged tree stump and would feed on fish and mollusks. Now, there was people that had seen these creatures and would observe them in the middle of the Ohio River on the sandbank, just sitting there, They would run around with each other, and they would, like, kind of mess around in that, and they would watch them. They were described as being ugly humanoids in appearance. They were amphibious. They were completely hairless, with webbed hands, and they had sharp claws and these fins. And they had a pointed, jagged teeth. In an article from the Cincinnati Enquirer, interestingly enough, it says, and this is a direct quote, "The beast is about 5 feet in length. Its general color is yellowish. The body between the forelegs resembles that of a human. The back of the hind leg tapers to a point. The extremities resemble hands and are webbed and furnished with sharp claws. It is devoid of any hair, and its ears are sharply pointed and stand up like those of a dog." One of the witnesses, a Kentuckian Confederate captain. So this is going on during the Civil War that these kind of sightings occurred.
Oh, weird.
By the name of J.M. Ozer, provided a sketch of the creature and claimed that they were predatory and aggressive in nature. He claimed that they were male and female, and the creatures were also said to be carnivorous because they were leaving huge piles of mussel shells, fish bones, and other animal bones, like, on this bank. So every time that the river would flood, all this debris would be washed away, and there would be nothing there for a few days, and then a few days after that, people would look, and there would be more piles of these mussels and that there on the banks of the river. There is no mention of these creatures before 1891, and not a lot since then. So this is believed that they went upriver after they were sighted in Vevey, and they think that they were using the Ohio River to get back to the ocean where they think they had come from. There was also another article that I came across in a different paper that described these mud mermaids as about 4 feet high and covered with a light coat of chestnut hair. They were said to run and swim at high speeds and let out loud screeches and yelps when pursued, like when people would chase them. So, like I said, these creatures were only spotted during, like, the late 1800s, early 1900s. They were spotted off the Indiana side of the Ohio, where the Ohio River lies. There was also a couple of other people that have spotted something similar in the book that I read that was called Chasing American Monsters. Over 250 creatures, cryptoids, and hairy beasts. And this is, the author is Jason Offutt. And there's another incident in Indiana that happens that kind of ties into this a little bit, where these two ladies, and this was again back, like, this was like 1950, it was like 1920, 1930. and they were swimming in the Ohio River. I don't know why you're swimming in the Ohio River.
Ew.
Because it's like
Dear God,
it's like one of the grossest rivers, and in fact, they tell you not to swim in it because it's so contaminated.
Yeah.
But I guess back then it must have been okay. So these ladies, to cool off one summer afternoon, were out there swimming in the water. The one friend had swam to shore and was just, sunbathing on the shore, while her other friend was still out in the water swimming. It was while she's swimming in the water that she felt a scaly hand, and she said it was a hand because she could feel it grab her ankle, and it started pulling her underneath the water. And it also had sharp claws because she could feel them cutting into her skin. So she kicked it in, I guess, the head, or they made it sound like the head, but I don't know, whatever this creature had, and got away from it. Luckily, after she kicked it enough times, it let go of her and she floated to the top, and she quickly swam to the banks where her friend was. But when they looked at her after the incident happened, she had like a green, slimy green handprint that remained on her leg for a couple days after the incident. And she had some scratches on her leg from where this thing had touched her. But I thought it was interesting that this happened kind of in the same general area as where these little mud mermaids were found. So it's interesting. They have not been found since then, so people believe that whatever they were traveling from the ocean, you know what I mean? And they were on their way back to the ocean, to where they came from. And they think that they just, took a wrong turn somewhere, and they were taking the Ohio River to get back. But yeah, that's all I have about the mud mermaids of Indiana. Yeah.
The Ohio River.
It's amazing how many strange creatures there are out there.
Especially around the Ohio River, because Point Pleasant wasn't along the Ohio River.
Yeah. In fact, the Ohio River has a lot of strange things
so
that
much,
happen
like,
occur.
things, especially around it.
Did you know that, like, some of our area sits in that 37th parallel that we talked about before? You know what I mean? That parallel that has all that energy that attracts, is known to be a beacon to attract all these kinds of weird anomalies and phenomenon that happen. And that's all I've got for this week. So if you get the chance, you should definitely head to Point Pleasant, check out the Mothman Museum, check out that really interesting antique store that we were in, that the second floor was very weird.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, the people of Point Pleasant, West Virginia are some of the nicest people I've ever met.
Yeah, they're all so nice.
Yes, they were so friendly and welcoming when
they're
we
so
were
helpful too. Like,
yes.
if you had any questions, they would be like so nice on answering it.
Yeah.
I will say the one nice thing about going to West Virginia is that everyone's so nice.
Yeah, they were definitely very nice.
It's that Midwestern nice.
Yeah.
The,
just like small town, very friendly, They all, happy that you're there shopping in their town and stuff.
I mean, their town probably does so well at that time. All the local businesses.
Right, I imagine.
You know that they all come out and support that event.
Oh, yeah.
There's a pizza place that has like a Mothman pizza or something crazy.
And and we ate at a Mexican restaurant when we were there Friday. It was really good.
So good.
Very authentic Mexican food.
Like, good, authentic Mexican food.
I can't remember the name of it, but it's the only Mexican restaurant in Point
Rio
Pleasant.
Bravo 2.
Yeah, Rio Bravo 2. So if you go there, please try this restaurant. It's really good. Give them some love, because they can all use
that place
some love.
was good.
It was very good.
The coffee shop was good.
Yeah. Oh my God, the margaritas in that place.
Oh my God, we got a pitcher of margarita. It was like $18, but we got a whole pitcher.
It was very affordable, and we got the strawberry ones, and they were so good. So
all the stuff around there was pretty good.
Yeah, everything was good.
Especially for the food.
Yeah, and their
food
was
good.
Food
trucks at the event.
Yeah, the food truck. We had bacon cheese fries, and what else did we eat while we were there? We had all kinds of stuff there. So definitely, give Point Pleasant some love. Go check it out. Go visit. Very neat. The whole history of what happened is just fascinating. But yeah, I'm so glad we got to go.
Next weekend, which I guess would technically be this weekend when this episode comes out.
Yeah.
We will be at the Bitchcraft Fair in Pennsylvania.
On Sunday.
Or Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh, in Pennsylvania.
On Sunday.
It's on Sunday.
September.
So if you hear this soon enough, you can go to it.
Yeah, come check
it's like
out.
Witchy stuff, so it seems like right up this podcast's alley and stuff you guys would be interested in. We're running the photo booth, but we will also be selling some stuff from
from our store, so come check us out.
Our stores. So come check us out. We'll have stickers with for the podcast. So come say hi if you're there.
Yeah, come say hi.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed the podcast today, follow us on Instagram at 2ScaredyCats Podcast, and please be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It really helps the show get discovered. And tune in 2 weeks for a new episode. And to all our scaredy cats and kittens out there, remember, curiosity didn't kill these 2 scaredy cats.